September 11th, 2001.
Maybe 20, 30 people I just seen, basically burnt to death on the floor.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
September 11th, 2001. A day that began like any other Tuesday, yet ended up changing the world forever. A morning filled with routine and ordinary hopes, which soon turned into chaos, horror, and disbelief. For millions, the events of this day are still vivid, etched into memory. For the world, it marked the beginning of a new era, where fear and courage collided in ways that reshaped nations and lives. Today, we will walk through that fateful day, minute by minute, story by story, and explore how one morning altered the course of history. It was an ordinary morning at Logan International Airport in Boston. The sun had risen, commuters rushed to work, and families waved goodbye at the gates. Among them, American Airlines Flight 11 was preparing for departure, bound for Los Angeles. On board were 92 souls, passengers and crew, each carrying their own stories, their own dreams, unaware of the tragedy that awaited them. 15 minutes after takeoff, the world would change forever. 5 men, trained and determined, would hijack this plane. They stormed the cockpit, overpowering the pilots and seizing control. Terror. Instead of heading to Los Angeles, the plane was directed toward Manhattan, toward the heart of New York City, toward the World Trade Center. At that time, these twin towers were symbols of power, progress, and American pride, and soon they would be the stage of an unprecedented disaster. At 8:46 a.m., Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At first, disbelief reigned. Could it have been a tragic accident? Even the president struggled to grasp the reality. Officials considered possibilities: mechanical failure, pilot error, anything but what it truly was. But the truth was far more sinister. This was no accident. The North Tower shook violently. Smoke poured into the sky. People on the streets looked up in shock, unable to process what they were witnessing. Within minutes, the entire city felt the impact of something far greater than an accident. Just 17 minutes later, the unthinkable happened again. Another plane appeared in the sky, and then, in front of millions watching live, it crashed into the South Tower. At that moment, confusion turned into terror. This was no coincidence. This was a coordinated attack. Fear spread rapidly, not just across New York, but across the entire world. In a classroom in Florida, the president sat with young children, listening to them read. When he was informed that America is under attack, the weight of those words was unimaginable. Yet, for a few critical minutes, the reading continued, while outside that classroom, history was being rewritten. While the world's attention remained fixed on New York, another tragedy was unfolding. A third plane, also hijacked, was redirected toward Washington, D.C. At 9:37 a.m., it struck the Pentagon, the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense. The impact caused massive destruction. Smoke rose into the sky. Emergency responders rushed in, and the realization became undeniable. This was a full-scale attack on the United States. Within moments, all airspace across the country was shut down. Every plane was ordered to land immediately. The skies, once filled with movement, fell silent. The fourth plane carried a different story, one of courage. As passengers on board learned about the earlier attacks through phone calls with their families, they realized what was happening. Their plane had also been hijacked. They faced a choice: wait helplessly or fight back. And they chose courage. A struggle broke out on board. Ordinary people with no training stood up against the hijackers. Though the exact details remain unclear, one thing is certain: their bravery changed the outcome. The plane ultimately crashed into an open field, never reaching its intended target. In their final moments, those passengers saved countless lives. Their actions became a symbol of resistance, proving that even in the darkest moments, humanity can rise. The fires inside the towers continued to rage. The heat weakened the steel structures, and the damage from the impacts made the buildings unstable. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed. Within seconds, it turned into a cloud of dust and debris. Then, at 10:28 a.m., the North Tower followed. In less than 2 hours, both towers were gone. Thousands of lives were lost. Families were torn apart. The skyline of New York was forever changed.
The world watched in silence, struggling to understand how such destruction was even possible. The attacks were carried out by a terrorist organization known as Al-Qaeda. Initially, its leader denied involvement, but years later he acknowledged responsibility, providing multiple justifications: political conflicts, foreign policies, and global tensions. Investigations revealed that the attacks had been planned over several years. The mastermind behind the operation had been involved in earlier attacks as well. Eventually, key individuals were captured, and years later, the leader of the organization was located and killed.
But by then, the damage had already been done, not just physically, but psychologically and politically across the world. In the weeks following the attacks, sweeping changes were introduced. New laws expanded the power of the government. Surveillance increased. Authorities gained the ability to monitor citizens, access personal information, and operate with fewer restrictions. Years later, it was revealed just how extensive this surveillance had become. Phone records, emails, internet activity, all monitored in the name of national security. The balance between safety and freedom had shifted, and many began to question whether the cost was too high. Before this day, flying was simple. Security checks were minimal. Passengers arrived shortly before departure. The idea of such an attack seemed impossible. After 9/11, everything changed. Airports became heavily secured zones. Passengers were required to undergo strict checks. Liquids were restricted, laptops removed, full-body scans introduced. What was once routine became a process of caution and control. The effects of that single day reached into everyday life across the globe. In response to the attacks, the United States launched a global campaign against terrorism. Military operations began in Afghanistan, aiming to dismantle terrorist networks. Later, another war began in Iraq. These conflicts lasted for years. Thousands of soldiers lost their lives. Countless civilians were affected. Entire regions were destabilized.
The intention was to eliminate terrorism, but in many ways, the cycle of violence only deepened. One conflict led to another, and the consequences are still unfolding today. As fear spread, so did suspicion. Many innocent people became targets of hate and discrimination. Communities faced backlash, not because of their actions, but because of their identity. Incidents of violence increased.
people lived in fear, not just of terrorism, but of each other. This revealed a painful truth. The impact of terror goes beyond destruction. It divides societies, fuels hatred, and challenges humanity itself. There are lessons hidden within this tragedy. First, violence creates more violence. One act of terror leads to retaliation, and retaliation leads to more suffering. It becomes a cycle with no clear end. Second, fear can be powerful. It can influence decisions, shape policies, and change societies. But when fear takes control, it can also lead to the loss of freedom and humanity. Understanding these lessons is essential if we are to prevent history from repeating itself. September 11th, 2001, a day of loss, courage, and transformation. Though the towers fell, the spirit of those who stood strong remains. The bravery of ordinary people, the resilience of communities, and the lessons learned continue to shape our world. We remember the lives lost, we remember the courage shown, and we remember the importance of unity, awareness, and humanity. Because history is not just about what happened, it's about what we choose to learn from it.